Alright, guys, how you doing? Couple of guitars came in. They need restrung. They're brand new. A guy brought these in and said he just bought these things. Set them up, restring them. One of those new Amazon kind of purchases. It looks like we've got a big old P90 here, and we got a humbucker here. String through the body. Thin line. Is it string through the body? No, it is not. But this is one of those made in China, cheapest on Amazon kind of thing. Three-way switch feels nice. It's got a big spring behind it. Volume tone. I can see that the saddles are a little out of adjustment. So, yeah, you can see that it was cut right here. Not the best looking cut right here. As far as the wood, you can see heavy too. These things are heavy. Maple neck, maple fretboard. Fret ends feel nice on it. Let's go ahead and pull these strings off. We're just going to restring it. Let's get these strings off of here. Well, hold on. Before we get all the string tension loose, let's take a look at the neck and see if there's any relief in the neck. And there's a lot. So let's snug the truss rod down a little bit. Always make sure that you have exactly the right tool that's in there. Loosen it up a little. Snug it tight. Get that string out of the way a little bit. Kind of feels like it's in the center position. It doesn't feel like it's really hard tightening up much. There we go. They're starting to tighten up a little bit. One more small turn. Yeah, this thing doesn't want to really... I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's tightening. Okay, now it's completely loose. Oh, there it goes. Oh, make sure that the wrench is in there good. There it goes. Looks like somebody's already been in there. Okay, there it looks nice and flat. We'll leave it there for a while. We'll see if it's buzzy and all that kind of stuff. We might have to do some adjustments to that. Straight from the factory, we look like we've got 9-gauge strings on it. 9 through 42s are currently on there. It seems like there's pretty nice Clouson style tuners on here. Companies are getting a lot better with their fret ends. After enough people yell and complain about fret ends, companies eventually start to hear. And they start to figure that stuff out. So this is a top loader, which I kind of hate these things because it's a little tricky to get the new strings in here. Okay, this is kind of fun to look at. The saddles are really high right here, and if you press down the little studs under for each saddle, it's not even hitting the top of the bridge right there. So these definitely need some adjustments to it. Okay, so I gotta get some strings on there before I do any height adjustments because they're just sort of rocking around on there. So let's get some strings. Today's string choice. Ernie Ball, super slinky. 9 through 42s going on this guitar. Made right there in Coachella, California. A little trick on these guitars. when you're stringing them up with this sort of a bridge, if you stick the string in the back, you have to, it's hard to get it to come up through the saddle. So what I do is I put a little tiny bend in it, maybe about that much, and then kind of press down, and it'll shoot up through there like that. Okay, doing a little checking the intonation here. Here's our A string. Press down at the 4th fret. And that one looks good. D string. That one looks good. Let's try the G. Okay, the low E string is sharp, so when it is sharp, you pull back on it. So I'm going to loosen the string to give this a little fighting chance here. We're going to try to move this back some, and it seems like it's turning really easy, and there it goes. So let's put it back into pitch. It's a little buzzy, something's buzzing down here somewhere. That's tight. Make sure it's right in the center of the saddle. There we go. Alright, let's see now. Let's set it up here. This video is brought to you by Swiss Picks. It's not just a pick, it's a science. Available at ZIMM'S Guitars or at www.swisspicks.com. Okay, here's the second guitar. Now this is the same exact brand. The guy bought 2 of them. Gett, I'm going to call this brand. Made in China. They got a serial number and everything on a sticker that's on the back of the guitar. It's very heavy, but I see the plastic shim under the neck plate, so usually they do that only on basswood bodies, but this thing feels so heavy. I have no idea what this wood is on this thing, but it's a nice sort of a surf green color, and you got a single humbucker right here. And Fender style tremolo with just the 2 points. 5-way switch. Mint green pick guard. Kind of like that. That looks nice. So they came in this gig bag. And again, you can find these on Amazon. And if you guys are interested, I do have an Amazon, a link to Amazon in the description below, where you can go on Amazon and I'll make 50 cents or something if you buy something on Amazon. But yeah, they've got their own strap, an extra set of strings, and a cable and everything in here. It's not really padded too much. There's I'm going to say it's maybe 1/8 of an inch or maybe a 1/2 inch of pad in this one, but these are the gig bags that they come in. And so this is just the same thing where I am going to restring this guitar and make sure that it's intonated for the guy. Now I'm looking up here at the headstock and it looks a little bit strange where it looks like they don't have a truss rod cover on it, but it kind of looks like they just took like a marker or something and kind of darkened the wood up in that truss rod, a hole right there where you get to the truss rod. But these things are heavy. You know what? I have a fish scale. I'm going to see if I can weigh this guitar because I'm interested in just seeing how heavy this thing is. Okay, so we got a fish scale We're gonna hang this. We got one of those things where you can weigh a fish, right? A fish scale. Comes in at 9 pounds and 6 ounces. That's a heavy guitar. That's like a Les Paul. Alright, so the fret ends on this guitar, they feel really, let me see if I can get these strings out without taking the back plate off. No, I'm not going to be able to. But again, these fret ends feel really nice and smooth. And I have to give the credit. Now, 5 years ago, we used to buy guitars and you would see the fret ends were just a mess. Jackson guitars, you'd go play a Jackson at a guitar center and the fret ends were in bad shape. But a lot of these YouTubers, they have been preaching this for about 5 years now, 6 years now, that we're not going to stand for having rough fret ends. So the work that some of these guitar influencers, it's sort of starting to slowly pay off. You can get a guitar out of China that has nice fret ends nowadays. I know that the Glaries and, 4 or 5 years ago, there was some rough stuff coming out of a lot of factories. Even made in Mexico Fender stuff had some rough fret ends. But because of these influencers, I'm going to say it again, I think that Philip McKnight's in the world and all those guys that talk about new guitars, Guitar Max, and all these guys that talk about them, their point is starting to finally be heard. We're getting cheap guitars out of China that have nice fret ends on them. Alright, just for fun, let's take this back plate off. Let's see what's underneath there. Okay, so normally underneath this back plate tells you a lot about a guitar. You can see a thin little trem block. You can see if it's a plywood body, because this thing is so heavy. It might very well be plywood. You can see a lot of the buffing compound that's down in there still. But this one is definitely a real solid piece of wood. I might actually get a spec sheet on this thing and see what the wood actually is on this model. But there's a little bit of rough routing right here. So I don't even know. There's a little chip out right there. I don't even know if this was really cut with a really high-end CNC machine. This was just somebody with a router that just cut this thing out. But it's not horrible. The bridge here is expected. It's pretty much everything is what we expected. But I was kind of thinking maybe it was a plywood body like they used to do back in the 80s in all the Kramers and all the cheap stuff that came out of back then. The Indonesian factories and the Korean factories in the 80s. There's a lot of plywood that came out, but this looks like a good, solid piece of wood. But man, it's heavy. And let's put some strings on it. Today's string choice. It's another pack of Ernie Ball Super Slinky 9s. This is what my customer will ask me to put on there. So this is what he's going to get. Okay, let's tune this thing up a little bit here. Got these little tiny buttons on the string, on the tuners. Not really my favorite. Checking the intonation. Looking pretty good. The arm feels good. I think I'm going to leave the claw alone. The arm seems like it's doing good, and it's still nice and tight to the body. A lot of guys like them sort of up high, kind of floating around a little bit, but that brings your string height up a little bit. If your bridge is leaning forward like that, it's going to bring your string height up a little bit. I kind of like where it's at right here. And I'm going to put the back plate back on. Okay, let's go ahead and just take a quick look at how much relief is in the neck, if any. Got it tilted up like this and look underneath there. This thing is nice and straight, super straight. You can feel the string when you do a string bend. The frets seem good, but they're I'm going to call these frets I'm not going to say they're jumbo frets. I'm going to call them kind of regular, sort of old school, narrow, short and narrow kind of frets. So when you do a string bend, you can actually feel the fingerboard. The nut, if you run your thumb along the side, across the bottom, you can sort of barely feel it on there, but it seems like it's cut nicely. You hold down right here and you just kind of see, that's basically, because I have hardly any back bow in the neck, right, or relief in the neck right now, the strings are just, they're just about sitting on the nut, or on the second fret here. So, I'm going to say that the nut is cut nicely on this. It's not the worst guitar that I've seen. There's some good things about it. The fret ends are in great shape. It's basically, it looks like a Squier guitar. It's got a big solid wooden brick of a body about it. And paint, there's no paint flaws or anything like that that I've noticed. It's not a bad guitar. It's not a bad guitar, guys. Thank you for watching, and remember to hit some of those, look at some of those links I have in the description below. And I appreciate a thumbs up, and maybe even think about subscribing. I also have a Patreon account, and you can become a channel member if you would like, and all that good stuff. But again, thank you for watching. Go buy a guitar. Go buy a guitar.